Hello, today I'm talking about what it's like to live on $300 a month. I did it for several years and I'm going to tell you my story. Please subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can be notified when we put up new videos. Hello, I am Tara, the author of the Dining on a Dime cookbook where you can eat better, spend less. We have a new hardcover with full color pictures and over 1,200 recipes and tips to help you save money on your grocery bill. Check it out at livingonadime.com. All right, guys, if you saw my mom's story, Penny Pension Mama, we have a whole series, then you know that I grew up in a very tightwad house. My mom raised 2 kids after we got sick and never recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome. $500, even in the late 80s, was not very much money, and things were super, super tight. My mom and my brother and I got sick in 1988 with the virus, and we never got better. I semi-recovered, mostly recovered, but my mom and my brother did not and ended up staying sick continually. I got a little bit better, was able to finish high school, and then I went to Sweden to be an exchange student. We had a Swedish exchange student living with us. Her first home didn't work very well, so her and I became really good friends, and then Mom said that it was okay for her to go ahead and live with us for the rest of the time. My brother and I were kind of best friends with both Nick and Pia. Her family arranged it so that I could go over and be an exchange student in Sweden for a year and live with her family and go to start college in Sweden after I graduated high school. So I went over there, stayed with Nick's family for a little bit, stayed with a pen pal for 6 weeks in Germany, and then went to Sweden to stay with Pia. And when I got there, I was starting to not feel too good, but I really wanted to go to college in Sweden. I had no intentions of ever coming back to the United States, to be perfectly honest. I thought I had moved there and was going to stay. I ended up getting a relapse of the chronic fatigue syndrome while I was there, got horribly sick, could hardly get out of bed, and then went to try to start college. I went for 1 day at college and I was like, there's just no way I can do this. I just knew I couldn't. So got a plane ticket, came home, and then I, along with my mom and brother, was really sick also. You can see here's the first Christmas. When I came back, I was not feeling too good. The doctor had just put me on antidepressants because back then they thought you were just depressed and that's what you were supposed to do. And I gained a ton of weight from being on the antidepressants. It was so bad that in 3 months I gained 50 pounds and my legs were splitting and bleeding because the skin could not keep up with the amount of fat that I had put on. It was absolutely horrible. So I was at Mom's for about 6 months or so, and the doctor finally told me, we don't know what's going on. There's a breakout of this in Wichita and Reno and Tahoe. The CDC is looking into it. Go on to the CDC program. Maybe they can help figure out what's wrong with you guys. We did. We were on the CDC program for chronic fatigue syndrome for 10 years. The thing that they came up with was that you get a virus. It causes a genetic problem that you already have, a genetic predisposition that you already have, to kick in and cause your immune system to go crazy. That's what they finally concluded. But, you know, there's nothing you can do for it. So I stayed at home, could hardly do anything, but I'm one of those people that I got to keep doing something. So I was piddling around doing gardening in the yard in the fall, cleaning up my mom's yard and stuff like that when I could. It really was hard. I mean, I would literally work in 5-minute increments. Then I happened to get this dollhouse. I got the dollhouse kit for, I don't know, it was like $5 or something, or maybe my dad got it. I can't remember. My dad might have gotten it. at a yard sale, and I started working on the dollhouse just to keep myself entertained. I would go to, back then it was Joann Fabrics had dollhouse kits, and I would go look in their clearance section and find pieces for it, you know, like little trim and that kind of thing. I would find the little pieces and the paint for a quarter, 50 cents. And I would keep myself entertained that way. Well, it got to the point where I had to just move out. And my mom was on SSI. I was applying for disability. And if I went to live with her, my disability would count against her SSI as income. So I had to move out. So I made the decision to go ahead and move back to southeastern Colorado. My great-grandparents, my dad's grandparents, had a house out in the country. It was vacant, and so they told me that I could come out and live in it. So my dad was back, came to visit for Christmas that year, and so he helped me pack up all my stuff. I had been collecting things at thrift stores, garage sales. Friends were moving, they were getting rid of stuff. Packed it all up in our old pickup. And I spent $200 furnishing my entire home, my first house out in the country. Now, went out there, and it is in the middle of nowhere. I know that we talk about, you know, being in the middle of nowhere and that type of thing, but guys, when I say it was in the middle of nowhere, this was looking out my front yard to town. You can see right there, the grain elevator in town. That was looking towards town. So when I say the middle of nowhere, I mean it. Here's another picture that's looking the other direction. And yep, it's just fields and fields and fields. There's another one looking to the north. The first one was to the west, the second one to the east. This is to the north. And the south looked exactly the same. So when I say I lived in the middle of nowhere, I really lived in the middle of nowhere. Now, the car that I was driving at the time, my 1963 Volkswagen, here's a picture of it before. My mom's dad was an auto painter, and so he painted it for me when mom gave me the car. This was my mom and dad's Volkswagen. It wasn't working, and so they told me I could have it if I wanted to spend the money to fix it up. I think I spent $3,000 getting it fixed up, and then my grandpa painted it for me. Really cute, and that's what I drove through high school. So I was driving this Volkswagen out in the country. The problem is, as you guys know, Volkswagens don't have air conditioning, and they only have heat on your left foot on the floor. So I had no defrost, nothing. And I was going through snow. There was drifts. I mean, it was out in the country. I really loved this little house. Now, this is the same house that when my mom is talking about in the Penny Pension Mama series that we lived in when we moved back there after my parents first separated. And I really wanted to fix it up because I thought I was going to be there a while. So mom got a grant to paint her house because she lived in a not so great part of Wichita, and they had paint left over. So she gave me some of the paint, and I would spend a few minutes every day painting the outside of the house. I was deathly sick. Spent most of my time in this position. But notice, guys, I still got dressed every single day. Even though I wasn't feeling good, I got dressed every single day. And I would do just little tiny bits of things. And I would garden, and I would do literally 5 minutes at a time. I would go and putter in my flower garden, plant my marigolds, plant my zinnias. I had a fairly large vegetable garden. My grandpa plowed it up for me, but I put in this vegetable garden that was probably, I don't know, a fifth of an acre probably. All kinds of onions and tomatoes, and I would just spend 5 or 10 minutes every hour or two just get up, go do a little bit of work, lay back down again, get up, go and do a little bit and lay back down again. And I worked really hard fixing up this cute little place. I even had a driveway that was all dirt and it was mud all the time. And I had my little protect dog here, Monty, and he would go in and out of the house, running around outside, and he would be covered in mud. I mean, he would just absolutely be covered in mud every time it rained. There's him and my little kitty, Mary Frances. We called her Mary Franny. She was a stray that I adopted. One time, I saw that they were dumping wood chips. My house was on the road to the dump, and I saw that they were dumping wood chips. So one time I stopped and asked them if they would dump the wood chips in my driveway, and then I would take a wheelbarrow full of wood chips and pour them in my driveway. And then when it rained and I ran the car over it, it made like this hard driveway that wasn't mud anymore. I just remember being so excited when I didn't have mud anymore. It was just constant mud all the time and the dog dragging it in. So I would spend my time just puttering around. I would decorate for Christmas. I wanted a fireplace really bad, so I painted my own fireplace. That's me and Mom right there. Then I would spend my time and I made Christmas decorations for my Christmas tree. I made all these cute little gingerbread houses and gingerbread men for my little tree. And you'll notice they're not there because my dog kept eating them. I decorated my entire tree with all these cute little gingerbread things, and my dog ate them. I couldn't believe it. I also was a master gardener, and so I would help out every now and then with the city park. My best friend at the time, she was in charge of the Master Gardener program, and they were redoing a city park. And so one time, I got a whole bunch of free sod left over from when they were putting in a park. And my brother happened to be coming out, and he helped me lay all of this sod so that I could have a nice grassy front yard. I was on a well. You can see here I was out of town, so I couldn't get the Yard of the Month award. Because I was out of town, I didn't qualify. But one time my friend gave me the sign so that I could take a picture with my brother, because I really appreciated all of his hard work that he had done. Him and Mom were there for Christmas. That's me and him roasting marshmallows over my fake fire. So that was my little house out on the prairie. I literally had a little house on the prairie. It was okay. That was before the internet. I didn't have cable TV, didn't have internet. So I would go to the library and get books to read. I would do my gardening and that kind of thing. And it was pretty nice. It was hard. There were times when we would have a blizzard and I would literally get snowed in my house, because the drifts out in southeastern Colorado, when the snow blows, it'll drift 6-7 feet deep. And it did that around my house, and I was literally stuck. And it would freeze my well, so I wouldn't have water for a few days. I also had a couple of situations where I was living by myself out in the middle of nowhere. I had one time a guy come to my door. I was 19 at the time. He was close to 60. Brought me a pheasant and wanted me to date him. I was like, yeah, I don't think so. So that was a little creepy. I had another guy that my house, you drove out of town and my house was at the dead end, and then you had to either go right or left, right to the dump or left to another house at the end of the road. And he would every day drive out, turn around and go back into town. And he stalked me like that for a good 9 months or a year. So I did have a few interesting situations, to say the least. That's partly why Mom and I are so big into prepping. We have had to live without water. We have had to live without electricity. We have been snowed in blizzards. And it's not fun, but you make do with what you have at the time. That is the house that I started my journey on my own. My next video, I'm going to talk to you guys about how I saved money living in that house and how I actually lived on $300 a month. Please visit us at livingonadime.com and we'll see you guys next time.